Hi there, and welcome to Entrepreneurship 101. I'm so happy to have you here. My name is Matt Waxman. I'm currently a junior at the University of Richmond. But more importantly, I will be your host for this web series that will feature around 10 videos, each of which touching upon different critical aspects of entrepreneurship and how you can give yourself the best chance of having a successful startup. So in this episode 1, I would like to focus on what I feel are the three most important things that go into making a successful startup. For one, I would discuss the importance of bootstrapping, or in other words, being very conservative when it comes to spending money, particularly in the early stages of starting a business. Secondly, I will go into how crucial it is that the product or service you are offering is actually fulfilling a need or want that the customer base has, or the product or service is actually fixing a problem that is already established within society or within your target customer base. And lastly, but I would argue maybe the most important of all of these aspects and elements, is the idea that you need to think long and hard about who you want to go into business with. The people you allow to join you on this roller coaster ride that is running a business, having a startup, or simply being an entrepreneur are just as important towards the success of your product or service as the actual product or service themselves. The reason why understanding these 3 points is so pivotal is because at the end of the day, the reality is most startups fail. That's the harsh reality. They fail because more often than not, they didn't properly handle one of these 3 elements. And I don't say this to scare you. That is not in any way my intent. I say this because at the end of the day, knowledge is power. If you understand the importance of these 3 elements, while of course you cannot ever, guarantee yourself that you are going to have a successful startup, by learning and understanding these elements, you will definitely improve your chances of being able to have a successful startup if you go on and choose to do that. Now, I'd like to speak more towards the second point that I mentioned earlier. The second point of those 3 elements. In today's day and age, I believe many people's perspective on what it takes to have a successful startup has become tainted, even corrupted, you could say, by the idea that you need to have some sort of revolutionary idea, some groundbreaking idea in order to be a successful entrepreneur. But this is anything but true. Don't allow the Uber or the Facebooks of the world to skew your idea of what it means to be a successful entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is all about being flexible. It's about being able to adapt your environment to your situation and do whatever it takes to best address the needs, desires, or the already existing problems that are around you. Bob Reese's TV Guide board game was not groundbreaking. It was not groundbreaking in any way. But rather, he recognized a trend, created key partnerships, which is part of the business model canvas, which I'll be talking about in a later episode, and he went ahead and got to work. He didn't hold back. He jumped in. He took a risk. He didn't change the industry, but he was very successful and ended up doing very well for himself. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes you just need to come up with something that does a better job of accomplishing its goal than what is already out there on the market. Google is a great example of this. When it first started out, it aimed to create a search engine that was simple, easy to use, and user-friendly. And in these ways, it would be better than the competitors that existed in the market. As Paul Graham said, Google was able to figure out a way to do it that didn't suck. And as funny as that may seem, sometimes that's all it takes. It's about putting out an idea, it's about taking a risk, and it's about creating something that might not be perfect. Perfection is not part of entrepreneurship, right? Failure is. But it's about putting something out there that's doing a better job of achieving its goal than what exists on the marketplace currently. Lastly, I would like to touch upon the idea in the process of idea generation and coming up with an idea for a startup. And this is very important, the journey of an entrepreneur is not linear. It's quite the opposite, actually. It's truly all over the place. Your initial idea in reality will look and operate very differently when you finally have become an official business than the moment you had the light bulb go off in your head. This is because of the multiple iterations, the pivots, and the changes that every product and or company goes through in the process of going to market. But it is through this process, it is through the journey of entrepreneurship that your idea will grow and it will better itself. And going off this point, don't fool yourself into thinking that if you come up with an idea that you think has tremendous potential, then bam, you're done. You have the idea, you think it has tremendous potential. Just like that, you're going to have a successful business, a successful company, a successful service. This is not true. The value of ideas is the way in which they act as a crucial starting point. But in reality, it's actually what you do with the idea. It's how you test it. It's who you have come help you build your business and expand it along with the rest of this process that I mentioned previously. It's all of these things together that will determine whether or not you will have a successful product or service, not the initial idea. Finally, but possibly the most important point I will make in this first episode is the concept that to be an entrepreneur, you need to understand the role that failure plays in the journey of being an entrepreneur. If you cannot handle failure, then this is not the line of business for you. I say this because entrepreneurs not only accept failure, they do more than this. They actually use failure to better themselves, and in some cases, their particular product and or service. Failure provides windows of opportunity in which one, if handled properly, can learn and grow in ways success could never afford them. Every successful startup, if you really take the time and look into them, at some point along the way failed. But the question, what made them the success they become was what they did with that failure. That's what made them a success. And with that, I would like to conclude the first episode of Entrepreneurship 101. Thanks so much for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you again back for episode number 2. Thank you.